Hello everyone. Today we will be learning how to solve quadratic equation using factorization. In some books, you have this S here as Z. But for British books, similar to what I am using now, this is spelled as S. So since I'm using a GCSE material, so I have that S there for factorization. Okay, let's start up. When we say quadratic equation, so it's an equation for quadratic, of course. So you have quad refers to 4, so it's an equation with an x squared, alright? The general formula of quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, right? So this is the general form. So all quadratic equation should be in this form before you are going to factorize them, right? So a and b here are coefficients. So these are numbers. You can have 2, maybe 5 here, and so on. And then c here is a constant. So that means it's also a number, and usually in most cases this 2 or this 1 will be transferred there, and then you can return it back to the proper form or general form. So before you can solve this. Now you know quadratic equation, when you are going to graph it, okay, when we graph quadratic equation, you tend to have a parabola, right? Right, so it should be like that. So it's a typical graph of a quadratic equation. So that you are looking for the solution of your x and two x's actually. So these x's here are the corresponding numbers to the variable here. So the x variables. So basically we're looking for the solution of your graph. Alright, so we are doing it using factorization. Alright, so this means if y here, and x here, this means if y is equal to 0, you will end up having an intersection of the line of the function, the quadratic function, and the x-axis, 2 points, and that will be noted as x1 or x sub 1 and x sub 2. Okay, let's have one example, or example number 1. Alright, so I have here x squared plus 5x plus 4 equal to 0. So how to factorize that? Okay, so when we do factorizing method in quadratic equation, we are going to focus on the sign and the number, these numbers, and the sign and the number of these and the variable. Alright, so 2 things for this case. Since we have only one right here, right? So we don't have any number here. I mean, yeah, we have number, but that's 1. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to write 2 brackets. Alright, so you have 2 brackets there. And obviously, because we have a square of the x, you are going to have one x here and the other x there. So that will correspond to your x squared. Alright, so since we are doing two brackets, that means we are going to do a FOIL method. So we are going to multiply that and this and this and that. So that would be FOIL. Now I said you have to focus on number here and this one. So if we're going to factorize a quadratic equation similar to factorizing usual numbers, so let's say, what are the factors of 12? So if you have 12, there are 3 and 4, 12 and 1, 2 and 6, right? Alright, so these are corresponding numbers or factors referring to 12. We call this as factors of 12. There we have 4. So the only numbers that correspond to, the factors that correspond to 4 is 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. Alright, so 2 times 2 and 1 and 4. Alright. Now, the next thing that we have to look into is that this will be our guide. The numbers here as our factors will be our guide. So you can either use this or this one. Alright? But you have to see to it that when you add or minus these two numbers here, it should correspond to the number in the middle. Alright, so number in the middle term. Okay, so this is one term here. So if we're going to use this, that means you have 2 plus 2. It will only correspond to 4. And that is a 5 there, plus 5. So we cannot use this one instead. Alright? But we are going to use this. Alright? 1 and 4. Because when we add that, that would be equal to 5. So we will write plus here and plus here. Why all plus? Because this is all positive. So either way, you can write 1 and 4. Alright? So when you check that, that means x squared. Okay, let's do the checking. So you have x squared. Then that's first outer. Then you have plus 4x. Then you have plus 1x. And you have plus 4. Alright, so you have x squared plus 5x plus 4. So this right here is the factor of this one, okay, of the quadratic equation. So that's easy, right? But since our main topic here is solving quadratic equation, so we then do a further operation on each of the factors. So for this case, we can have x plus 4 equal to 0, which then becomes, so you can transfer 4 to the other side, that becomes x sub 1 equals minus 4. Okay? So remember the graph? That means one of the x there is minus 4. Right? So right here you have x plus 1 equals 0, so x equals negative 1. So that means one of it is negative 1 and the other one is negative 4. Remember, on the graph. Okay, so because you have that curve there. So in the x-axis, in the negative 1 and negative 4. Alright, in example number 2, guys, we have t squared plus 3t minus 18 equals to 0. So let's get it on. And so we're going to make again two brackets. So you have to put t on each bracket to correspond for the t squared. Okay, then we have negative 18 and positive 3 there. Alright, so let's factor out 18. Okay, so what are the factors of 18? So you have 9 and 2, 18 and 1. Okay, then we can have 3 and 6. Correct? So we have 18 and 1, 9 and 2, 3 and 6. Okay, now if you are going to observe this, this is a minus sign, so one of these is a plus and the other one is a minus. Alright? Now, since the inner sign here is a plus, that means a bigger number should be plus. Get that? So, if we're going to try out 18, okay, because you have a plus and minus there, it will be minus, right? So 18 minus 1, that's 17. So we cannot have 3 there, so we can crush this one out. We will not use this, not this one. Okay, how about 9 and 2? So you have a plus 9 and a minus 2. And that's still 7, so you can crush that one out. Don't use that. But if we have 6 and 3, when you minus 6 with 3, you will get 3 there. Okay, so this means you can write either of the brackets. So you can have t plus 6 and then t minus 3. Okay? Now, if you are going to check again, you will have t squared minus 3t plus 6t. So when you add that, that becomes 3t, right? 6t minus 3t, okay? And then you have 6 times 3 and negative, that becomes minus 18. Alright, so you're correct here. So this is our factor of the t squared plus 3t minus 18. So to solve further, because our topic is solving quadratic equations, so this one becomes t plus 6 equals 0. This means t sub 1 equals minus 6. Okay? And you have t minus 3 equals 0. Therefore, t sub 2 equals plus 3. Easy stuff, right? Okay, let's do example number 3.